Okay. Great. Thank you all for being here on this sunny afternoon in the Seattle area, at least. Hope the rest of you are getting some nice weather too. You may notice some unfamiliar or new names in the room today, and that's because Farm to Food Pantry and the Washington Gleaning Network are joining forces for this meeting today. There is so much overlap in the folks who participate in both of these programs, and a lot of the work that you're doing is very similar. So we felt like this would be a great opportunity for you all to connect with each other, do some networking, and learn from the experiences of each other. And just for those who are in the room, who are in the Gleaning Network, but not in Farm to Food Pantry. Farm to Food Pantry is a statewide farm to food access program that's been operating for over 10 years now, funded by WSDA, and Harvest Against Hunger is the lead agency. The main goal of this program is to support small scale agriculture in our state while getting nutrient-dense, culturally relevant food into our hunger relief system through purchasing contracts. And I'll pass it over to, oh, also I'm Olivia, by the way. I will pass it over to Sarah to talk about the Gleaning Network.
Thanks, Olivia. Hi, everybody. Some of you all familiar faces. It's good to see some of you new faces. Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm working with Harvest Against Hunger, and we've developed a program called the Washington Gleaning Network, which is basically helping support the work that gleaners do throughout Washington State. Developed kind of in collaboration with AGO. So we just kind of starting this program, so it's great for thanks you guys for letting me come in and bring everybody else in. Yeah, and I did want to mention that we're recording this, and I wanted to do a little kind of write-up of like our interaction that we had today. So if anybody is like not cool with me like sharing screenshots that might have their picture on it or something like that, or quotes or anything, feel free to just like drop a no like in the chat. That'd be great. But yeah,
cool.
Back to you.
Thanks, Sarah. And yeah, if everybody could put their name, agency name, location in the chat. We'll use this for Farm to Food Pantry attendance records, but would be great for Gleaning Network folks to introduce themselves too in the chat. And I'll give folks a few seconds for that. I see them coming in. Thanks, everyone. Okay. So here's our agenda for the day. We just did some brief introductions in the chat. Sarah is going to start with some Gleaning Network announcements, and then I will give some admin reminders and updates for Farm to Food Pantry. Elise will talk about the resiliency grants that WSDA has announced, and then we'll spend the rest of the time we're calling it a wearing many hats discussion. We know that you all take on so much in your roles, and we want to provide some space for you all to learn from each other, learn best practices, commiserate over what's happening, but really just a time for you all to network with each other. And then we'll have some time at the end for any just general Q&A. Okay, over to you, Sarah.
Okay. Yeah, just a couple of quick announcements for the Gleaning Network. This is kind of, we usually have meetings every month, but we're kind of collaborating on this one for April. So just wanted to, throw out those announcements that I would have given at that meeting. So briefly mentioning the the grant that AGO got for helping develop the Washington Gleaning Network. Washington State University is doing a kind of study on the effects of that grant, and they're doing a ripple effects mapping session. A lot of you probably received a calendar invite, and this is for Washington Gleaning Network folks specifically, but just wanted to put out there, keep an eye out for details. And the Zoom link in the upcoming newsletter if you haven't seen that in your inbox. Next, we had a great meeting with the advisory committee folks on Monday. One of the topics that came up is that some of the engagement for the Washington Gleaning Network might be waning a little bit past the like exciting, like this is a new thing point. And we're kind of discussing how we think kind of maybe less is more, so to speak, when it comes to the kind of cadence of those meetings. We were discussing that meeting every single month might not be ideal, and that we might want to, especially during the really busy season, which is now upon us, and we might want to shift our timing to a more efficient one. So we would love everyone's thoughts on that with the Gleaning Network, and I'm going to drop something in the chat here awkwardly. And this is again for Washington Gleaning Network folks, but just kind of a quick survey checking out like what folks think about it. And just, you know, click on the link, let it open in a new tab. You can fill it out after this. It's just like a couple of questions. It's totally anonymous, but this feedback would be super helpful in letting us gauge what works best for you and find a cadence that really respects your time while enabling us to grow together as gleaners. So two more really quick things. As you might be aware, we are beginning a pilot project to collect the hard-earned knowledge of gleaners throughout Washington state into like one accessible tool. And there might be like several phases to this project, but the first phase, we're working with students from University of Washington to contact folks for existing information that you all might have. So please keep an eye out for that correspondence. And meanwhile, if you'd like more details, I also dropped my email in the chat. Okay, last thing I promise. So for next month's meeting, you should have received a calendar invite for this as well, but I'll also drop it in the Zoom chat. So food waste and food safety are kind of a really vital part of our work, but that topic doesn't always get as much light as it should. So we are really excited to welcome on May the 8th at 10 in the morning, that's a Thursday, as we explore this important topic with Elise Bauman of Salem Harvest, Oregon, as she shares her tried and true gleaner expertise with us. So that's all I got. Back to you, Olivia.
Thanks, Sarah. Okay. This is going to be on every admin reminder slide, probably for all of Farm to Food Pantry, but please enter your purchasing data. We are getting down towards the end of the year. And so we really appreciate you being on top of that. So HAW can get reimbursed for the funds that we sent to you all up front. If you're not going to be able to spend down all your funds by June 30th, please let me know as soon as you know. We want to be sure that those funds get redistributed to another organization who can spend them down or has already spent down funds, so that they continue to support this work rather than being returned to the general budget. As a reminder, all food must be delivered by June 30th. So if you place an order on June 30th, but it will be delivered in July, that is not an allowable purchase with these funds. The receipt has to say that it was delivered on June 30th. Also a reminder to invoice for non-food expenses. It might have been a while for some of you who invoiced us for admin operations or indirect a few months ago. And now that a few more months have passed, please send those to us if you have any expenses to invoice for. And as a reminder, that can be for non-food expenses expended between July and March. It's all reimbursement basis, so it'll have to be for the past months. Also, now that we're nearing the end of the fiscal year, I would love to see any photos that you've taken throughout the past few months. We put them in our reports, we share them out with funders. So we love to see these, and you can either upload them to your Google Drive or just send them to me directly in an email. And then lastly, we have finalized the purchasing local decision tree. Thank you all for your feedback last meeting. That was super helpful. And on this next slide, I'll show you the finalized version and sort of point out where we made some of those changes. So we heard from you all that there needed to be some more clarity around the definitions of food hub environmental factors and minimally processed. So those are now at the bottom of the document. And then another great piece of feedback was that this is mostly focused on purchasing produce and not necessarily non-produce like meat, eggs, or dairy. So we and it seemed like a lot of the questions around that were about the processing itself, if the processing has to occur within your county or if it's okay to leave your county for processing. And we know that it's really hard to find processors in Washington State, let alone in your county. So yeah, as long as the item was processed within Washington State, we are good with that. So we just added this box. I don't know if you all can see my mouse, but we added this box here asking if the processing will occur within Washington State. If yes, go ahead and make that purchase. If not, then that purchase is not allowable. And then the last change that we made was a small one, but we have the box asking if the item is something that is culturally familiar or desired by your clients. Initially, it just said culturally familiar, so we added desired because yeah, we want, if your clients want it, we want you to source it. So providing a little more clarity in that box for you all. This is posted on the Google site, and I can follow up in an email with sending this to all of you so you have it accessible. If you do notice anything else that should be changed, or if you have any suggestions, please let us know. I say finalized, but yeah, I want this to be a easy tool for you all to use. So if you have any other ideas, please let me know. Okay. And now I'm going to pass it over to David to talk about the application for the next biennium.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Olivia. And just a really quick sound check. My neighbors, I usually don't work on Thursdays from home, but my neighbors have decided now would be an excellent time to run their leaf blower. Can we hear that?
No.
Excellent. Okay, good. So thanks, everybody. And I think everybody knows that, we are right in the middle of a lot of things happening with both the state and the national budgets, primarily the state right now. So just a really quick update. Thanks in large part, I think, to a lot of the advocacy efforts that you all put in, as well as a number of other organizations. Both the Washington House and the Senate budgets fully funded WSDA's request for their budget for funding, which is excellent news. Now, we're in committee right now, so the budget, the combined budget, has not yet gone to the governor's office. It will be going to the governor's office soon. Assuming that things go as planned, what will go to the governor's office for approval is going to be that fully funded $92.4 million amount for WSDA. And that's all of the different programs associated with the food assistance program. So that's going to be capacity, that's going to be EFAP, that's going to be a number of other things. Included in that is potentially increased funding for Farm to Food Pantry, both for the biennium. So both in this this coming year, which begins July 1, a stair-step increase from where we were previously this year. And then in 2 years, starting in 2026, on July 1, 2026, there will be another increase. So fingers crossed that all the advocacy work that we've done will pay off, and we'll be able to get that increased funding for programs like Farm to Food Pantry. What that means now is we still don't know exactly how much money is going to be available, because WSDA, of course, can't commit until they know they have confirmation of the funds that are going to be available for them. So We're in a bit of a holding pattern, and we apologize. Every year we want to try to start this program up in February so that you can go out and do your contracting with your local growers. But we do run into this challenge every 2 years when the budget is being put together. This year's been particularly challenging with the significant deficit, the 12, depending on estimates, 12 to $14 billion deficit. So, um, again, we're in a bit of a holding pattern. We are cautiously optimistic that we will be able to see full funding for this program, but until we have that confirmation, we're not going to be able to determine the amount of funding that we're going to have available for the program. So what we're going to do is, as soon as we have that information, we're going to open up the application period. And then on our part, we're going to commit to turning these applications around as quickly as possible. So part of that application, of course, is going to be, looking at information about the communities that you're serving, your organization, the work that your organization is doing, et cetera. So it's going to look a lot like it has in the past. And then we will have a decision-making rubric that will be based on the questions that are in that application. Harvest Against Hunger, probably a couple of our board members and staff members, as well as WSDA, will have, well, WSDA may not necessarily be ranking it with us, but we're going to try to turn around our process to get the information back out to you so that you know the amount that is going to be available to you for next fiscal year for Farm to Food Pantry. And then what we decided to do was that we would do a listening session in the May meeting. So next month, we're going to open it up so that people can ask questions about the process, people, and we can talk a little bit more. We'll probably have a little bit greater detail at that point. I think that's it for now. And I know we've got lots of other stuff to talk about. Diane asks the question, are we going to have capacity for new organizations? Gosh, we hope so. Yeah, one thing that, again, we would like to be able to bring in new organizations and have the funding to do so, but we don't want to get ourselves in the situation where we bring in new organizations, don't have increased funding, and then decrease funding to the existing organizations that have these systems in places. So that's kind of a non-answer for you, Diane, but fingers crossed that all things go well and we're going to be able to fully fund everybody as well as bring in a few new organizations to the mix. Olivia, anything else on that?
No, I think you covered it. Yeah. That was great. Thanks, David.
Sure.
Yeah, to reiterate, we are working on the process. We want the process to be ready to go when we hear of that funding so we can open the application and get things turned around to you all as quickly as possible. And yeah, that May meeting will be at the same time as this cohort meeting, but we'll likely open it up to anybody who'd like to join to learn a little bit more about the process. And yeah, as David said, hopefully we have more information to share with you then. And hopefully before the meeting, I hope to be able to send some emails out ahead of that meeting with updates regarding the process.
Yeah, and just one more thing, Olivia, really quickly. We're going to encourage everybody. We're going to try to keep that application window as broad as possible. So, obviously we're going to try to give you plenty of time to fill out that application, but please do start on it as soon as you see it, because the sooner we can get those turned around, the sooner we can make those decisions and let everybody know.
Great. All right. Any questions on this slide? All right. Okay. Now I'm going to hand it to Elise to talk about the resiliency grants.
Hi, everyone. One second here. I'm taking notes as well, so I'm going to find my links and then I can get started. All right, I'm going to drop a few things into the chat after I talk, but I'm sure many of you know already, but just as a reminder, the WSDA Resiliency Grants are now open, and that application period will be open through 11:59 p.m. on May 22nd. So you still have a little over a month to get that in. And this will be for the agreement period starting July 1st, 2025, through June 30th, 2026. So it's a year-long agreement period, a year-long program. So it really is specific to, something that you can complete in 1 year. The resiliency grants provide flexible funding. So this could cover staffing, operations, equipment, indirect, contracted services, and food purchases. And the goal of this funding is to go to hunger relief organizations who are, fighting hunger and supporting food security work within their communities. There's a lot of notes. I'm going to just go ahead and throw this into the chat now on the Resiliency Grants webpage. So I'm by no means covering all the details. I highly encourage you to just give this website a read through if you are interested in applying. But a couple other notes are that you do not have to be a WSDA core program participant in order to apply for resiliency grants. So by that, I mean, if you are a recipient of, EFAP, TFAP, CSFP, you have received a WSDA grant before. You do not need to have that experience to be eligible for these resiliency grants. Similar to Farm to Food Pantry, as David just went through, the total funding level is still TBD. David, to your question that just popped into the chat, these will be all this funding will be state funded. And so the amount of money that is available for resiliency grants is still up in the air. However, similarly to as what has been discussed already, because the state and the House, because the Senate and the House budgets both showed WSDA as fully funded. We are also cautiously optimistic and therefore decided to open this application and to start the process, feeling, again, yes, cautiously optimistic about having full funding for the resiliency grants this year. I'm not the expert on resiliency grants. So if you, sorry, David, that wasn't to your question. I'm just saying if you want specifics about the process, about, any details, eligibility, etc., those questions can go to Britt and Anna at that, and I'll type that into the chat here in a moment, but at foodassistancegrants@agr.wa.gov. They are our full-time staff who do resiliency grants only, and they're wonderful. So yes, they can be helpful. And I'm also going to go ahead and just throw the exact application link into the chat as well. It's also listed, it's the top link on that general WSDA page where it says application now open in open waters. If you click on the word open waters, that will take you to the application. And then I will type the email in the chat as well. And David, your question. So no CFA audit requirements as we had to deal with for COVID programs over the past few years. I don't want to give you an incorrect answer there, but
Yeah, no, it's a single audit that's required for federal funds of now over $1 million that are received by organizations. So I know that caught some people by surprise over the past couple of years.
Okay.
As long as it's state funding, that CFA audit is not a requirement, but you should plan to have a full audit done regardless.
Great, yes. And yeah, just to reiterate that this is going to be fully funded by the state, the general fund state. So shouldn't be a thing this year. Does anyone have any quick questions about resiliency grants? I know some of you have received a resiliency grant in the past. So if there's anything that anyone wants to share, please feel free.
Can I quickly share, because I've been answering this question pretty recently, there will be no small scale resiliency grants this next year. So this next cycle is going to be exclusively. So if you're wondering if there's the $5,000 grant that we've been doing for the past several years, that is not going to be a part of the resiliency grants moving forward, at least for this year. So if you do need something like that, I would encourage you to apply for these grants using that process. Just FYI.
Yeah, thanks for that, David. Yeah. Again, just without knowing the full funding amount, it does look like they're anticipating minimum awards to be in that $10,000 to $20,000 range. So yes, no more of those $5,000 resiliency grants that were kind of administered through Harvest Against Hunger. So yeah, thanks for that note.
Yes,
See
Joy.
a hand up from Joy.
Hi. Hey, Elise. How's everybody
Hey.
doing? I have a question because I did receive the resiliency grant year and a half ago, not year before then. And for small organizations awaiting on a reimbursement, one time I know there's staffing issues and I know people get ill and things like that. I understand that. But for a small organization to wait for reimbursements for 2 months, that's kind of how far is the turnaround? How long is the turnaround for reimbursement? I know it was my first time and you guys worked with me on getting my paperwork straight. But once it was, took maybe a month and a half to get or 2 months to get a reimbursement back.
Yeah, thanks for that question. As far as I know, at least with other programs that I directly oversee in terms of getting payment out to our partners, we're back to a 2-week turnaround from essentially when our team gets everything processed and submitted, and then a 2-week turnaround for WSDA fiscal. So there might have been some more significant delays a year and a half ago. I can imagine with COVID or with, as you mentioned, staffing, but it does seem to be a lot quicker. So hopefully you will not experience that again should you apply and be awarded. I know our team has been working really hard to make sure that things get turned around as quickly as possible. So thanks Joy for that note. And yeah, I can understand how that would be really, really stressful.
Yeah, well, some of it was, me learning and the paperwork. So it's, I take my accountability for my part, and I appreciate your input and thank you so much. It's nice talking to you and seeing you. Thank you so much.
Nice to see you too.
All right. Thanks, Elise, for covering that. This is a great opportunity for farm to food pantry agencies and gleaning organizations alike. So yeah, we encourage you to apply and wish you luck. So now we're going to shift over to our group discussion. We'll break you out into some small groups in a moment, but I just wanted to set some context for the discussion before we dive in. As we mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, many of us in the room are program coordinators, volunteer managers, fundraisers, advocates, and everything in between. You all manage so many relationships with farmers and your you work with volunteers. There's just a lot going on for you all, and balancing all of these roles can be both rewarding and overwhelming. And so we want to sort of have a discussion around how do you all juggle these responsibilities and find a balance while still making an impact. On top of juggling many roles, the food systems and funding landscapes are changing quite dramatically recently. And so we felt like this was a good time to talk about how is that impacting your individual role at your organization. Are you taking on new roles? Are your roles shifting because of these changes? So yeah, we just wanted to provide an opportunity for you all to talk with each other, learn from each other, share best practices, tips, complain if you want, really whatever you need the time to be. We, yeah, wanted to provide that space. So I'm gonna go to the next slide and Sarah will run through the questions.
Yeah, so you can kind of just, like, there's a lot of questions on here, so you can just pick one or two or however many you want, but yeah, just like considering what are the hats that you wear, how you keep it organized and prioritize stuff. I know, like, I cannot do anything without my calendar and my list, or I will just like lose everything. Like, are there any tools or software that has helped you? What are the benefits and drawbacks of hiring seasonal employees? That one's sort of interesting. How are your roles evolving as Olivia was talking about? So just like questions like that, they don't have to be those ones, but those are just some ideas to get you guys' creative juices flowing. You can feel free to pick some or have your own kind of conversation as well.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Sarah. We're gonna put you in some breakout rooms now. We'll broadcast the questions to make sure that you can see them. And yeah, as Sarah said, feel free to talk about this. These are just a guide. Feel free to talk about whatever comes up and wherever direction you're pulled in. But are there any questions before we put you in those rooms?
Oh, and I forgot to say, one person from each of the rooms.
Oh, yes.
Should be like a speaker when we come back out, because we'll come back out after a few minutes and like we'll have how long, like 10-15 minutes or so for people to share, which I think will give you guys like 3 or 4 minutes each to kind of share what your group was talking about. So just want to put that out there. Keep that in mind.
Cool. Yeah, we'll give you about 15 minutes in those rooms and then we'll bring you back in here. All right. See you all in 15 minutes. Okay. All right. We should have everyone back now. Did you want to do the...
So awesome. Thank you guys for having what we hope is a really great conversation together. And I think we have like 5 rooms. So what we're gonna do in the last 15 minutes-ish is have like one person from each room just kind of share out what you guys talked about. And I'm gonna give you guys like 3 minutes. I'm gonna put a little timer on and be like a time Nazi about that. So I hope that you guys have a great conversation. So I guess we'll just start with room 1. If you guys knew what rooms numbers you were in, if there's somebody from the first room that wants to share out. Or they don't have to be in order. If somebody wants to just start, that's okay too.
I can maybe talk for my group. We were in breakout room 5. And
Great.
you know, if I miss anything, anyone from my group I'm happy to have them chime in. From what I was hearing a lot of, you know, I didn't really talk about like our experience in my organization. It was really nice to hear what other people have been going through, because kind of sounds like we're all going through the same things. But you know, we're all, I think, spread very thin. A lot of people are wearing many hats, and organizing everything is hard. People have, like, you know, I'm looking at my desk right now and I have 3 different notepads and they're all filled to the brim. And all of our, you know, calendars are probably also booked out for the next couple of months, I would assume. That's how mine looks as well. But yeah, I think it's hard not only to organize like yourself as a manager or fruit in a food procurement sense or managing staff and volunteers, but just day-to-day stuff of like how to prioritize things and functioning day to day with like maybe meetings that could be emails, um, or emails that could be meetings. Um, but yeah, I think organization wise, it's definitely hard. I wish there was this like one overarching software or company that could just have all of my things put together of like this is high priority, you need to do this, and it would be awesome if that existed for all of our food banks. Because I think uh, wearing all of those hats and making sure things are not slipping through the cracks, and if, a volunteer can't come in, or if Eagle's Nest was talking about, like, if a truck breaks, or Marie Sinkhorn was talking about if a truck breaks down, um, you just you got to roll with the punches, but still being able to organize everything to make that happen can be difficult. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Lily. Yeah, it's like things are overwhelming when everything's going well, let alone if there's a crisis. So yeah, there's a lot happening.
Thanks for sharing. Anybody else want to step in and let us know what you guys kind of chatted about?
I can jump in for our group. We were number 4, I believe. Whoops. All right, there we go. And it was interesting because we all have very different roles, and our organizations are all set up so very different. I think the consensus was, thank goodness for our Outlook calendars. We were all very reliant on that to remember the many things throughout the day. Like I said, we are also different. Like we rely on seasonal interns right now just because of funding sources. The other one relied on volunteers, regular volunteers, and then the other one was so small that they weren't really concerned about it too much. And then, with the same thing as Lily was mentioning, we're all continuously adding on new hats along with the ones that we're already wearing. So just trying to make the most of what we have and our connections and stuff. That's all we had.
Great. Thank you, Carrie.
Thanks, Carrie.
No, I think I was in group 1, maybe. I don't remember the number. But something that I got from our group is that we have all had to make a lot of different pivots in the way we do things. And also, one person was in Eastern Washington and they said there was a mountain between their food banks and trying to do the logistics of getting things to places, or if a piece of equipment breaks down, one person was the go-to person for almost everything. So it was really interesting to hear like we're all in the same boat, but also at a different spot on the boat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well said.
Any other thoughts about all your hats?
My name is Brent Hunter, and I'm the executive director of Coastal Harvest. Can you hear me?
We can.
So I have no idea what room I was in, but I can tell
No
you
worries.
this. I can tell you this. Take everything you're talking about now and multiply it by over 25,000, because in every state and in every single community with a feeding program, they're talking about the exact same things we are.
Mm-hmm.
I connect with my counterparts in other states, and we're all talking about the same things. So we are not isolated in our part of the country dealing with these things. It is happening on all levels in every state where they are trying to get assistance to people that are in need.
Yeah, thanks for that, Brent.
That's such a great point. I mean, like with the Washington Gleaning Network, for example, we've been talking to gleaners throughout the whole state. And we really just realized so early on that we're so much more alike than we are different with, like, we might have some kind of different ways of doing things, but for the most part, we have the same issues. Yeah, for sure. Great one.
Okay, I think we heard from 4 people, so assuming we've heard from 4 of the 5 rooms, last chance for that 5th room to speak up with any takeaways from their conversation. Okay, well, yeah, thank you all for participating in this. I hope, yeah, even in the common challenges that you're all facing, I hope you found some hope or just, yeah, knew that you weren't alone in this process, that others are going through the same thing as Brent said. And yeah, we gotta lean on each other in times like this. And yeah, hopefully you took something away from the conversation and learned something from one of your peers. Do you have any final thoughts, Sarah?
I just love that we can all come together and have these kind of conversations. I think we should do more of this, y'all.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Gleaning Network folks, for changing your meeting time and attending this one. It was great to have you here. And
Hey,
yeah.
Olivia, before you close out, just really quickly to everybody, I know that there are probably some people that were involved in conversations and you're still kind of thinking through maybe some of the things that were discussed. And I would encourage you, like, this is exactly the sort of thing that we try to do at Harvest Against Hunger, which is to take some information and see if there's an opportunity for us as an organization that has connections to a number of different groups that may not be connected themselves, to try to find common areas where we can help or support you. So, as we're wrapping up this meeting, if there's something that you feel like during that conversation, maybe your organization is not positioned to do something about or to develop, let us know, because we're always trying to figure out ways to support all of you. And we know that collectively in this room, everybody is smarter than just one of us. So please do share either with Sarah if you're with the Washington Gleaning Network, or with Olivia if you're with Farm to Food Pantry, or with me if you know me, and let us know how we can help you, because we know, again, to Brent's point, this is something that's happening in communities all across Washington State and the United States. So thanks all for being here, and again, as you think about it, something comes up, let us know, please.
Yeah, great note to end on. Thanks, David. Are there any general questions before we end the call today? All right. Thanks everyone for being here. And yeah, be on the lookout for more information about our May meeting. I'll be sending that via email. And that is the opening listening session about the application process. Great. Thanks everyone. Have a good rest of your day. All right. Goodbye.
All right. See you guys.